Hello, and welcome to Optimized, a marketing performance podcast brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. I'm Janet Rosseth, your host, and a 25-year veteran of multifamily marketing. This podcast is going to challenge you to reach 1% better somewhere in your daily life, and optimizing is how we'll do that together. Whether it's bringing your personal best to your work and life, building efficient work processes, uncovering new trends, or making sense of meaningful data, we'll dig in together and find that 1%. Hey friends, welcome to another episode of Optimized, a marketing performance podcast brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. I'm your host, Janet Rosseth, and I am thrilled to join forces with Shelley Robinson today, a fellow host on the Multifamily Media Network of PropTech Pulse. And we're going to really just open the mic and chat about the things that we're finding in the industry and hearing in the industry as it relates to operators and PropTech and PropTech founders and operators. Hi, Shelley.
I'm really glad that we made this happen today, Janet. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm excited about this.
Me too. You and I have had a couple of conversations outside of the mic on, and we got to spend some time together at RecCon. And I think we just both, once we get talking, we have really interesting conversations about how PropTech is having its moment. I mean, it's always had a moment in multifamily, but there's just so much happening right now as it relates to PropTech for operators and for those who are bringing it to the market. And it maybe warrants turning the mic on and having a conversation about the things we hear. Do you want to just give a little background for, I know my listeners maybe aren't as familiar with you and your background in your podcast. Bring us up to speed on all things Shelley.
Oh, well, I really appreciate that, Janet. I actually went out on my own this past year. I've spent more than 2 decades in multifamily. Started out as a leasing specialist and worked my way up through marketing and operations through the years, and then pivoted into PropTech and customer success for years over strategic accounts. I've always had a passion for technology along and how it makes marketing and operations function in a more efficient way for insights. So I now work with PropTech companies and owners and operators to really take the chessboard of the landscape across marketing, operations, and technology and make things better, simpler, more efficient, and move the industry forward together. So that's really what I'm focused on as my North Star now, and really a way to give back to the industry that's been so good to me. I love this industry.
I love that background. I think I started as a leasing agent as well, and I can't even tell you how many guests I've had on the podcast that started as a leasing agent. So let's just cover right there. You started as a leasing agent in this company, and you literally can go anywhere.
You can. And
Yeah.
I grew up in a really tiny town without a lot of opportunities, and my dad worked in a shop, and it gave me an opportunity to have a business career that I don't think I would have ever had that opportunity not surfaced for me to move to Florida and start opening up new Class A properties.
It's so transferable, right?
Absolutely. Great full business perspective that you learn in multifamily as well when you operate a property. So
Absolutely.
I'm thankful for it.
And your podcast, tell us about your podcast.
So PropTech Pulse is really focused on multifamily disruptive innovation. Founders and leaders in the industry having critical conversations about what's next in the way that we live and the way we work in multifamily, and how is technology actually going to make that better. And I think we're in a really ripe time of a staffing crisis in multifamily that's been around for a while now. Almost a decade. I think that we've really been struggling with having enough talent to fill what's coming in the industry. And you've got inflation and cost creep and NOI compression and a lot of lease ups in markets. And then all this new technology that is going to make it better and simpler for everyone.
Right.
So those are the conversations we're having over there on PropTech Pulse.
I like that. I've been listening to a few of the podcasts, and I'm always fascinated by your conversations. And, I'll take that handoff and tell you that the lane that I tend to stay in is what applies to the prospect experience and the resident journey, and the handoff of that PropTech experience into a leasing agent. So the very human side of who are the humans that are the recipients of our PropTech choices.
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
And I
absolutely.
think expectations have changed so much in terms of our prospects and our residents. We are used to being able to do everything on our phone, go as far as we possibly can in a sale or in a buy and you know, a journey of research before we decide whether or not we want a human being involved. And I think everywhere across the industry, there are different decisions being made on what does that customer service experience look like? What does the prospect experience look like? Do we serve 24/7 round the clock?
Yeah.
Or do we use our human beings during office hours? We're getting to the point where some of our owners and operators, it's like comparing apples to cucumbers
Yes.
to potato chips. We're not even in the same food group anymore when it comes to adding on prop tech to really build out the journey that you want your organization to be known for. So some of my clients, I know we had this conversation before we got started, but I work with a lot of clients that are 10,000 units and under. In a lot of cases, they may have fallen quite a bit behind on marketing and tech stack, and now they're trying to catch back up. And it's like, gosh, well, what's your ideal customer experience? And sometimes that thought hasn't been put in place yet. It's more like, how do I just fix all the holes I have in reacting to the business coming at me?
Yeah, it's like connecting the pieces together to tell that story of the tech that
Yes.
you need. And a lot of times, the decision makers on technology at the owner and operator group, they're really what's important to them is, does this report give me insights that I need as a
Yes.
financial decider? And then how do you communicate across the resident experience back into that of why you need this particular tool that's going to make everything better for your site teams and your residents? It's a disconnect in the day to day
Yeah,
work. That's
definitely.
hard
And
to
to some
overcome.
degree, data is leading the way on these conversations.
Yes.
It's the unmet experience that's leading the way. The owners that aren't getting the reporting they need, the marketers and department heads that don't have the dashboards they need, the residents that are, reporting in on your Google ratings on the experience that they are or aren't having. And that's sometimes what's guiding the prop tech conversations right now is the experience that's being reported across all those facets.
It's at that reputation score is
Yes.
everything to your financial outcomes.
Yes.
So we did like an A/B testing back early in the days of reputation management, and we had two properties, both Class A in the same exact market. And the one that we really focused on, the reputational improvement, had a 5% improvement in their financial
Oh,
NOI compared to the
no doubt.
like it's
No
very
doubt. It impacts your advertising spend, it impacts your renewal rate. Absolutely. Your ability to increase rents.
yep.
Definitely.
When I talk to PropTech founders too in that resident experience space, I'm like, share case studies of that reputational improvement. Even if your product doesn't directly work on reputational improvement, if it's about resident experience, it will reflect in that outcome
Right.
overall in that improvement over time.
How lucky were you that you had an A B test right in the same market, side by side properties owned within the same portfolio? Like, that's really hard to get your hands on. To be able to say these are the actual variables and not like, well, then this other thing happened. A new manager came in and we renovated a couple of things.
We did back at Avalon Bay when we were first testing revenue management like 22 years ago when I was there too. It was the same thing. It's like, how do you really A/B test? And,
Yeah.
there's so many nuances to your demographics, to your location, to your asset class.
Yes,
It doesn't always work. Sometimes it does,
definitely.
thankfully.
Definitely. Take me we started our conversation before we even hit record, talking about just the things that we're both hearing in the market this year, 2025. You from the standpoint of really leaning into prop techs bringing products to market, and me from the standpoint of where operators are feeling the push-pull of all the technology coming into the market. Take me through what you're hearing.
This is a great conversation, and I think it's so good that we're talking about it together because it's connecting the pieces in the chessboard together. And so, I would say prop tech founders, there's a lot entering the industry that may not be from multifamily. That's a theme, and I think there's a lot of positive to that, where you get all of these great new talent coming in. Like I've got one founder I'm talking to, they're like Meta and Google background. Those those are great backgrounds to bring into the enterprise prop tech world. And I think on the other side of that, it creates some potential to make sure you're really listening to your customers as you learn the industry and making sure you're speaking to the industry from a place of knowledge. So if you don't have that, bringing someone in that can help you bridge that gap is important. Our industry isn't the most forgiving if you launch a product and it doesn't meet the mark. And so I think that's another theme that I'm
Yeah, we
hearing
are
is
a very word of mouth industry.
it's big, but it's small and it
Yes,
holds a
people
growth.
stay forever. They know it, they know everybody.
It's so true. It's so true. So I'd say that's one theme. And then I do hear a lot around how are you making work simpler for my on-site teams? And how can you actually measure that? Are you measuring that? And can you prove it? And then that goes back to the resident experience, and tying those together is the workforce and the residents now are demanding that Amazonification, that
Yeah.
Apple, that Google, that Domino's pizza delivery experience in the way that their workflows work. And I think our industry is very far behind in delivering that. So I think we're in a bit of pain right now as an industry from a complexity standpoint, from a login standpoint, from
Yes.
disconnected things that don't necessarily work together to deliver that simplified experience. And I think it frankly equates into a lot of turnover for new people into our industry as well that may be in that Gen Z category that are
Yes.
like, I'm not dealing with this usability. I'm not going to get frustrated
Right.
and
Well,
try.
exactly. You've got the Gen Z expectation that everything is going to be as simple as,
Yes.
their last login to Amazon or their last order on Shein.
Yes.
And then you've
Yes.
got a whole nother generation that's been working in the industry for a long time. I mean, you and I have both been here for over 25 years, right?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So thank God we've studied up on tech and kept with it.
Yes.
But
And I would,
there's a whole other generation that's working on site or been out in the field that is trying to keep up with all the stuff that we're launching and all the tech that's coming through and figure out how to still deliver their day-to-day service, but learn how to use all the technology. And it's a huge level of tech fatigue. And that was a big topic of conversation at NAA last year of just tech fatigue, launch fatigue, the volume of sign-ons that
yes.
our people on site have for credentialing to get into systems they need to use. And a topic that came up last year that I found fascinating was the amount of um, prop tech uh, just troubleshooting that our on-site teams are having to do for residents and for their teams. So we've launched so many
Yes.
things. We've given them all these tools that are going to make their job easier. And then they spend 2/3 of their day trying to figure out how to troubleshoot all of those systems. So
The
I feel like,
on-site resident help desk per
yes,
se.
exactly. Exactly. Like if only I could just take a check from you right now again. Like, I hear myself every once in a while saying, like, could we please just go back to smoke signals?
Yes, I agree.
I might get your message faster.
It's so true. It is so true. And I do hear
But
that as that you are echoing the same sentiment I'm hearing as well.
yeah,
Spot on.
yeah. From an operator standpoint, when I'm hearing from my clients and, our company hosts a marketing online community for people who influenced marketing in multifamily. So I hear from a lot of different people who work for a lot of different size companies, the challenges in their day to day. And one of the big challenges I'm hearing this year is streamlining that tech stack, less sign-ons, less credentials, and really trying to smooth out the redundancy across all the prop tech you've got on board. And it's almost, I'm going to ask you a very big question of how do you approach it? Because it's incredibly challenging. It takes a lot of time just to go through the process of identifying all the tech you've got in place, all the licenses on board, and then go through everything, an update on everything that prop tech piece can do for you. Because
Yes.
there have been a lot of tools vendors who have launched new features that you may not realize they've launched. And in the process of trying to do that in the first half of 2025, I'm also seeing and excited by all the vendors out there who are adding features to their product to reach this consolidation standpoint. So we're literally just in the process of consolidating social media posting and reputation with one client. And all of a sudden, a vendor that we use on one of those things just launched a new component to that. I'm like, oh my
Does it?
gosh,
Yeah.
rewind.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So how does a company, how does an operator go through this process of auditing everything they've got in place in order to streamline what they need? Where would you advise they start?
There's a couple things that come to mind, and I'll start first with the prop tech companies with a hard request.
I'm gonna
Share
like this.
your roadmap. Share
Yes.
your roadmap, even if you have to do it in a confidential way, and share your releases in advance. So many times these things are hitting the market.
Yeah.
And I get why the prop tech companies keep it under wraps a bit because, they don't want their competitors to get ahead. But at the same time, you're causing friction with the customers you do have because they're not prepared for your launch. And so then they're left scrambling and that creates friction. So that's like the first call to action is communicate with your customers. Let them know what you're doing and let them know in
Right.
advance so they can prepare,
That'd
market
be
to
a
them.
great conversation during budget season to talk about, hey, here's what
Yes.
we have on the roadmap coming in the future. Are these things in your, you know, in your lane in the coming year? And should we be talking about those as we start releasing them?
Yep. And then I'd say on the operator side, especially I think fee management is the hardest because many times in the fee management environment, you are letting the ownership groups that you manage for decide those tech stacks. So you have a lot of tech stack variation in the fee management environment. That's your most complex. So let's talk about that because it simplifies all the way back to, I think, that vertically integrated environment is keep a capabilities matrix and keep it what you have turned off and why, and keep that updated on a quarterly basis, and then add your new releases to it. You will find redundancies. You're going to have to come up with a naming convention for your capabilities. But what does it overall do for you? Why did you choose it? If it's redundant to what's in your main PMS tech stack, why is that turned off in your main PMS tech stack? And is there a way for you to move forward in consolidating in a way that simplifies it over time? And so, is it a hassle to put it together? Yes, but Excel is a beautiful thing, or Smartsheet, whatever you want to use as an organization. Talk about it in your leadership team meetings. I always say ask for feedback from your on-site teams if that's who's your day-to-day user, and find out what's working and what's not working as you plan for next year. Um, it, there's so much redundancy out there.
Oh, there's so much. And I just had this conversation earlier in our online community that half the battle is, we chased down the last few years, we chased down best of breed and everything. We didn't
Yes,
want to just take all our eggs in one basket with whatever the PMS provider is rolling out now. We wanted to connect the best in breed on all the other little pieces, right? But you roll all that out and then you don't have solid absorption at the properties and they don't embrace it as much as you intended them to. And so you've paid all of this money and, worked all these integrations into place and it's not actually getting its max value. It's not being used at max level. So does it make more sense to go back to not necessarily chasing best in breed, but chasing consolidated offerings? And I want to go
easiest
back
to
to something that
use.
you just said earlier, the ask for prop tech vendors. I would also say, gosh, it would be nice to know upfront what your integration actually looks like. No two integrations are created equal out here. So, what is the integration? What does it do? And how often? And how does it do it? And then also, maybe who do you partner with? Because there are a lot of really cool smaller tech sources that are partnering together and can align together to be more of a one stop shop for you where you don't have to manage so many vendors. They can react together. But
Yes.
without knowing that up front, an operator might be chasing other tools out there to solve purposes that don't connect well with your systems. I think that is one of the biggest problems out there is integration fatigue. I mean, we're just over having one more update be pushed out and then trying to figure out something's wrong. I don't know what. I'm not even sure which layer to look in.
Yep. Yeah. Where
And
do I
when I
even
find
start to
it, I have
troubleshoot?
no idea which of you needs to own it.
And that comes along into the data conversation too. There's a reason why Remen's company Propexo is
Yes.
doing so well. It is a total signal into an industry where the integration conversation is a problem. And our industry, even though we all wear many hats, especially in like your target customer size of like that 10,000 units, a lot of times they can't afford to hire that integration specialist. They hire more of a technology leadership generalist. And then that leads into how do you solve for that? And so, I would say consider a third party company that manages your integrations and knows them all really well. It's what they do for a living. There's also a company, the Multifamily Consortium, that's come out where they're actually evaluating companies and prop tech for you and taking some of the load off. And I think that's another really good business model out there right now. It's like, hey, we know you're busy. You're a busy industry. Let us evaluate and give you information so that you can shorten your evaluation life cycle, what's important to you,
That
and
will
we'll
be
help you get
valuable.
to that decision faster. So I think there's always opportunities in the problems, right? It's there's space for somebody to come in and really solve for it. And I think that's the same on the data front right now. Data is a very complicated conversation in the industry. And
Absolutely. Getting it, keeping it, owning it, cleaning
deciding
it,
from it, getting
cleaning it.
insights from it, interpreting it differently at company to company, that's its own episode actually.
It is. I completely agree. What would you say? What are you looking at going into second half of the year? What's high on your radar to discover at conferences coming up in the second half of the year or conversations that you're having? And then I'm going to follow that question for you with predictions.
I would say right now it seems like everybody's at the starting block still for the race this year. And that's owners, operators, tech companies waiting to kind of see where things are going economically. So that's a big theme that I am hearing everywhere. Decisions are being paused, acquisitions are being looked at, but perhaps the opportunity is not quite right yet. There's a lot of wait and see themes that I'm hearing, which I think affects, especially on prop tech company side, the ability to move forward and grow and scale if everybody's waiting and seeing.
Yeah.
So that's a big conversation. And I do hear frustration. If you're not really working on simplification, I think people are willing to move away from you. So if you're not really clearly sharing how this is simpler, easier, efficient, and you're able to prove that and you have a plan for that, I think your platform could be in trouble.
Yeah. I would agree. I would agree. And I think from the operator standpoint, what I'm seeing a lot and have my ear to the ground on is very similar. The hurry up and wait, the hurry up, I need to investigate all of this, but now I'm going to pause. It's almost we have vacancy issues. And so we're going to hurry up and investigate all these solutions. And by the time you've investigated, we've gained some ground. And now it's like, maybe I don't need it.
That reactive look rather than really proactive.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Oh,
Or
yeah.
it's I'm going to dig into this topic, this consolidation, this streamlining. I think this needs to be on our map. And
Yep.
then it's the identified piece of, gosh, this is going to require some bandwidth and we don't have it.
No,
So
that's
we're going
back
to
to that
pause.
fatigue.
We're going
Yeah.
to
It's that
pause. But
fatigue.
yeah, exactly. The tech fatigue. But I love what you just said about the resources of the industry, consultants, the groups that do this. Like, make that part of the equation in your conversation of if you're going to investigate this, do it right and have somebody come in that is a neutral party and
Yes.
knows how to do it. And it's not somebody trying to fit it in around their day-to-day job because it just doesn't get done well.
It does not. They can't
No.
execute on it. I have always been behind in this industry, and I think that is everybody's
And
plate,
you're
whether
actually
you're
quite ahead. I mean, you're leading PropTech conversations and you're calling yourself behind in the industry. Where does that put a lot of people who are running IT departments or marketing or operations? And who does it fall on? Does it fall on IT? Does it fall on marketing? Does it fall on operations? That's a big question too.
don't think our industry does a really great job of change management across stakeholders. And many times we roll out technology without really thinking about, like we were talking at the beginning, what does change management look like for the residents? Have we made this and considered this part of the experience? Are we owning that change management? You know, are we rolling out a resident app and having parties on site so everybody can get used to the new app? Or are we just rolling it out and hoping they figure it out? Are
Right.
we doing that with the on-site staff? Have we made sure that their experience, that there's time to learn the change, that there's space to learn the change when everybody already feels behind? And are we managing and communicating in a way that people feel heard and that they can adopt and adjust to that change?
Right. And sadly, I think what happens often is that we onboard and we think we do it really well. We have that resident party, we introduce them to the new app, we, train our staff on it, and then we launch it and leave it.
Crickets. Yep.
And we don't retrain residents as they come in or help them continue to lean in. Like, I'm always a big fan of, if you're going to launch a resident app, then keep a reason for people to keep coming out and building that habit. Like,
Every
you got to
day.
plan a good, 4 to 6 month strategy of, here's what you're going to find in the app next month, so you keep coming back.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
same thing with property teams too. How fast do teams move from one site to the other? We make eye contact with a good leasing agent and we move them to another property. So it's hard to feel like those prop tech launches land well and perform long term really well when we train once and then leave it and expect it to just continue performing.
That's so
There's got to
true.
be
That's so,
ongoing support of it.
yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You wonder, like, how many training departments. I'm sure the larger companies have this nailed, but the smaller companies that I tend to work with, the training department is still focused on the basics of property management, the leasing and facilities and, maintenance and all of those things. But there should be an entire training on tech stack and use of tech stack and use of your
Absolutely.
tools.
And in a way, that is that short form hit of help me with what I need right now because you got my attention for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, right? It's the micro train environment that I know a lot of training leaders in the country are really working to pivot to, and some don't have the resources, but that's the attention you have now.
Right, right. What's your prediction coming in 2026?
That's a really great question. I have a few. I think we're seeing some truly disruptive technologies emerge from some pretty agile, smaller companies. So, fully automated artificial intelligence PMS system, including automated back-end accounting, which blows my mind. It's more exception based than day-to-day workflows. So all the workflows have been solved for. So I think disruptive technology is going to come to the forefront. Um, the friction is that it's still a high cost to transfer from one system to the next. So I think that's going to be a prediction to watch and wait and see. I think artificial intelligence and leveraging the service experience to enhance service in a real human way, those are going to win. So, does your language learning model actually deliver? And can it enhance service in a way that frees up your staff's time on site to actually make a difference in service? Because service is always a differentiator.
Yes.
So, I think that's another prediction that I'm starting to see gain traction. And I think those companies that deliver that will start to really thrive in 2026.
Yeah, gosh, it just makes me think the young companies, the young operators that are just building their book of business and building their
Yeah.
portfolio, what an opportunity they have to try all the cool new tech and put their system in place versus those that have been around for a while and have to break it to rebuild it while flying it.
Yeah. Small,
It's
small,
terrifying.
agile, um, innovative in nature. I think
Yeah,
it's the perfect opportunity to
yeah,
really rethink how you do business. And
yeah,
that's exciting to me because, like you were saying earlier, a lot of times the smaller companies don't have the resources. So if you automate the resources and make it easy to do, then you're able to implement that way faster than a large company.
yeah. I just think about the solutions that are coming out with AI, like gosh, years ago, I can remember working with a client. We were trying everything to find translation for the website and for all of our resident manuals in every possible language because it was such a diverse renter pool.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
it's done. Sign on your AI and it's all translated. There's a definite trust factor that needs to happen there. I struggle with that a little bit still too.
Yes. And there is, roles are going to continue to need to be had to validate. Someone has to be in the AI and making sure that anything that's an exception gets addressed fast and is actually back into the model to refine the model over time. You have to have that. Jen Finn at Hio, that's the way her platform works. You've got someone in the back end administration
Yes.
really running the exception and training the model ongoing, especially if you've got companies with their own brand. You can't
Yeah.
just set it and leave it. If you've got a brand and you've got your own standards, you're going to have to constantly refine those standards in the language learning model.
Right. Right. It's getting exciting. I have a couple
Yeah.
of predictions I'll throw out there real quick before we wrap here, but going back to the staffing pool and talent acquisition, when you think about the young adults that are coming out of college or coming out of even high school, everything is online. Everything's within an app. They submit their homework through an app. Every single thing is done on iPads, iPhones, MacBooks. They're
Yeah.
incredibly versed. My children are 20 and 23, and they are my IT team.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely. My daughter,
seriously.
18, same thing.
Yes, this
Everything.
is the generation that's coming in, and they're going to be searching for roles that are built to support that. And I also think the really solid, good employees and talent that's out there that's going to be continuing to move and level up their role, they're going to be looking for tech. They're going to be chasing tech versus chasing the role. So they might be putting in their resume or putting in their search certain names of products that they like working with and want to continue to work with.
That's really a good insight. I love that.
I also think our residents and prospects are going to start to expect this too. They're going to expect that they can get answers all day long on the website by AI. I expect AI. On everything I purchase, I fully expect to have a conversation with AI first and then get handed off when it needs to accelerate to a human being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That kind of brings up that specialization now too, that I think
Yep.
is emerging roles in the industry. People that are highly specialized, and jobs aren't going to go away in the industry; they're just going to change.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to become much more frustrating for a resident to say, why can't I just find out what I owe on my electricity bill? Why does it take until the office opens on Monday?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
should be able to get AI into my ledger at any given time and
Yep.
get answers. Yeah, or whatever I need throughout the
Yep.
the property. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I
love
think it's
that.
going to be an exciting couple of years, but there's going to be a lot of heavy lifting. It's great tech coming to the market, but there is going to be some heavy lifting for operators and for PropTech vendors to make sure that we are meeting the mark and being able to consolidate, being able to audit,
Yes.
and spend the time necessary to make sure it all works the way we intend for it to.
It is not time for status quo in your initiatives as an owner or an operator. It is time to lean in, or you will be left behind for sure.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Which is hard to say. There's a lot of really great family-owned businesses out there that I feel like there does need to almost be really some visionary decisions put into place on what does it look like in the next 20 years.
Agreed. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It'll be
Good
fun to watch.
stuff. So glad
Yeah.
that we jumped on and turned on the mic. Listen, audience, this took us a while to put together because we both kept having weird things come up. But here we are. We did it. It's mid-year. Perfect timing.
Right
And
on
we'll
time.
drop this in both of our podcasts.
I love that. I
Perhaps.
think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Okay. Thanks for joining me, Shelley. And listeners, if you liked this episode, give it a like, give it a share, put a comment out there. Thanks again to the Multifamily Media Network for hosting it and giving us this space to have these conversations.
Absolutely. So
Thanks,
appreciative.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time today for this session. I hope you found a bit of inspiration and wisdom to optimize your performance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a review, and share it with your network. And remember, this podcast is proudly brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network, your trusted source for stories, trends, and insights in multifamily living. If you're a marketing influencer, be sure to check out Cadence Marketing Solutions at cadencems.com. We've made it our mission to support marketers and lead you to the voices, resources, and tools that impact your success in this fast-paced industry.